Black CEO stereotyped at bank. Teller regrets her words when she finds out who he is. Michael Jones straightened his tie as he walked into the cool, polished lobby of Crestwood Bank in Denver. The morning had been brisk but smooth, and this stop was meant to be quick, a simple deposit before heading back to the office. His leather briefcase swung lightly at his side as he approached the marble counter. Behind the glass, a young woman named Lisa stood poised, her hair pinned back neatly, her expression professional and unreadable. "Good morning," Michael greeted, sliding a crisp check and a neat stack of bills through the slot. "I'd like to make a deposit." Lisa glanced down at the check, then back at him. Her eyes lingered for a moment before narrowing slightly. "This line is for business clients only," she said, gesturing toward the other line where regular customers waited. "I'm in the right place," Michael replied with a calm smile. "This is a business account." Her lips pressed into a firm line. "I'll need to see some identification." Michael didn't mind showing ID, but it was the tone that made him pause. He reached into his wallet and slid his driver's license toward her. Lisa examined it closely, flipping it over like it might reveal a secret. "This your ID?" she asked, her voice edged with doubt. "Yes," Michael said slowly. "Why?" Ignoring his question, she held the check up between two fingers like it was evidence in a case file. "And where exactly did you get this?" Michael felt his patience strain. "I wrote it. It's from my company, Apex Capital." She let out a soft scoff. "And what exactly is your position there?" "I'm the CEO," Michael answered evenly, though his calm exterior was starting to crack. Lisa's mouth curled into the faintest smirk as she leaned toward the intercom and pressed a button. "Security, I might need some assistance at counter 3, she said, her voice casual, like she was reporting a disturbance, not speaking to a customer. Michael straightened his posture. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his voice steady but firm now. Lisa folded her arms. "I'm just doing my job. This check doesn't look right, and your story doesn't add up. Do you have another form of ID? A passport, maybe?" Michael stared at her, incredulous. "Who carries a passport to the bank?" Her lips curved into a thin smile. "I do when I travel," she said smugly. Lisa's finger hovered over the intercom button, and her smirk only deepened. A tall security guard emerged from a side door moments later, his posture stiff and eyes scanning the room. The air felt heavier now, and Michael could feel the weight of several curious glances from other customers. "Is there an issue, Lisa?" the guard asked, his voice calm but firm. "Yes," she replied, gesturing toward Michael. "I suspect fraud. This gentleman handed me a check and ID that don't seem to match. His story doesn't add up." Michael turned toward the guard, maintaining his composure. "There's no fraud. I'm here to deposit a check from my company account, and everything I've provided is legitimate." The guard looked at Lisa, then at Michael, and back again. His stance shifted slightly, as if unsure how to proceed. "Do you want me to call the police?" he asked. Lisa waved her hand dismissively. "Not yet. Let's confirm the check first. It's from a company called Apex Capital. Apparently, he's the CEO." Michael inhaled deeply, the sharp edge of her words striking a nerve. "You could save us all some time by calling the number on the check," he said, keeping his voice measured. "They'll confirm everything." Lisa ignored him, pulling a second monitor closer to type in the check details. As her fingers moved across the keyboard, she glanced at Michael again. "Do you even have another form of ID? A business card? Anything that proves who you are?" Michael opened his briefcase and handed her a neatly printed business card, embossed with the Apex Capital logo and his name. She barely glanced at it before setting it aside like it held no value. "You know, we have policies to prevent people from scamming us," Lisa said, her tone sharp. "You'd be surprised how often we catch people trying to pass off fake checks. You should have thought this through better." Michael's jaw tightened, but he held his ground. "Is this how you treat all your customers, or just the ones who look like me?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Lisa paused, her expression briefly faltering before hardening again. "I'm just doing my job," she said defensively. "You're the one who's acting suspicious." The security guard, still standing nearby, cleared his throat. "Why don't we let her verify the check and sort this out?" he suggested, his tone neutral. Michael nodded, taking a step back. "Fine. Go ahead. Verify it." Lisa's fingers danced over the keyboard again, and she picked up the phone to make the call. As the line rang, Michael crossed his arms and watched her, his calm exterior barely concealing the frustration building beneath the surface. Lisa held the phone to her ear, her tone clipped and professional as she spoke. "Yes, this is Lisa from Crestwood Bank. I'm calling to verify a check for $20,000 issued by Apex Capital. Can I speak to someone in charge?" Michael stood silently, his face unreadable, while the security guard shifted uncomfortably. The room seemed to quiet as customers nearby pretended not to listen, but leaned in ever so slightly. A pause stretched in the air as Lisa's expression flickered. "Yes, I'll hold," she said curtly, tapping her nails on the desk as if the act of waiting were an affront. The line connected again, and Lisa's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, Mr. Jones? Yes, I have someone here trying to cash a check in your name, and I need to confirm its authenticity." Michael arched a brow, tilting his head as he waited for the inevitable. Lisa's expression shifted rapidly, her smugness evaporating into confusion, then shock. Her cheeks flushed as she stammered. Yes, of course. I didn't realize. Thank you." She placed the phone down with a trembling hand, her gaze darting toward Michael, but unable to meet his eyes. It's all verified," she mumbled, her voice barely above a whisper. The office door swung open, and Greg, the bank manager, a composed man with a practiced calm, stepped out, clearly drawn by the growing tension at the counter. He took in the scene. Lisa rigid behind the glass, a security guard hovering nearby, and Michael standing tall, his jaw set. "What's going on here?" Greg asked, his voice level but carrying authority. Lisa straightened immediately, trying to regain control of the situation. "I was just verifying a suspicious transaction," she said quickly, forcing a polite smile. "But it's all sorted now." Michael stepped forward, not aggressive, but steady, his voice low and measured. "What she means," he said, "is that she falsely accused me of fraud, questioned my identity without cause, and treated me like a criminal based on nothing more than her assumptions." Greg's brow creased as he turned to Lisa. "Is that true?" Lisa fumbled for words. I was just following protocol. It's not my fault," he seemed. Greg lifted a hand, silencing her. "I'll handle this." He turned to Michael with practiced professionalism. "Mr. Jones, I apologize for any inconvenience. Is there anything I can do to make this right?" Michael's gaze didn't waver. "I think you need to take a serious look at how your employees treat people. Because this wasn't an inconvenience. It was unacceptable." The weight of his words hung in the air. Greg turned back to Lisa, and his tone hardened. "Lisa, you didn't just make a mistake. You treated one of our most important clients with disrespect and prejudice." Lisa blinked. "Client?" she echoed, her confidence draining away. Greg nodded toward Michael. "This is Michael Jones, the CEO of Apex Capital. This bank handles millions in transactions for his company, and you just accused him of trying to cash a fraudulent check from his own business." The blood drained from Lisa's face. I didn't know," she stammered. "I was just doing my job." Michael's voice cut in, smooth but edged with steel. "No, you weren't doing your job. You were making judgments. I gave you everything you asked for, but it didn't matter, because you'd already decided I didn't belong here." Lisa opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Greg exhaled slowly, the disappointment in his expression unmistakable. He turned back to Michael. "Mr. Jones, on behalf of Crestwood Bank, I deeply apologize. This does not reflect our values." Michael studied him for a beat, then nodded. "Your apology is noted. But what matters now is action. What will you do to make sure this doesn't happen again?" Greg's jaw tightened as he looked back at Lisa. "Effective immediately, Lisa, you're terminated." Her eyes went wide, panic flooding her face. "Wait, terminated? You can't just..." "I can," Greg said flatly. "And I am. We don't tolerate prejudice in this bank." The room fell silent, the only sound the distant hum of the lobby. Michael gathered his briefcase, calm and composed. Lisa stood frozen, the weight of her actions settling in. Greg inclined his head slightly toward Michael. "I'll personally ensure this never happens again." Michael gave a single nod. "See that you do." "I can, and I just did," Greg said firmly. "Clear out your desk by the end of the day." Lisa's lips quivered as she looked at Michael, hoping for some kind of reprieve, but Michael's expression remained steady, offering no sympathy. The security guard stepped forward. "I'll make sure she collects her things without issue," he said, his voice low. As Lisa shuffled away, Michael turned back to Greg. "I appreciate your swift action," he said, his tone measured. "But you still have a larger issue to address. This isn't about one employee. It's about the culture that allows this to happen." Greg nodded solemnly. "You're right. We'll review our training programs and policies immediately. You have my word." As Lisa disappeared from sight, Greg motioned toward the private office. "Mr. Jones, please, let me personally assist you with your deposit." Michael glanced around the bank, catching the uneasy stares from the other customers. He knew their curiosity wasn't from malice, but the moment still hung heavy with the weight of what had transpired. He nodded at Greg and followed him, briefcase in hand. Inside the office, Greg processed the transaction with precision, offering occasional reassurances that this would never happen again. When the deposit was complete, Greg leaned forward slightly, his tone earnest. "Mr. Jones, I can't apologize enough for what happened today. It was unacceptable." Michael regarded him calmly. "Apologies are important, Greg, but they're not the solution. What matters is making sure this doesn't happen to someone else, someone who might not have the resources or the position to defend themselves." Greg nodded solemnly. "We'll take action. That's a promise." Michael stood, slipping his receipt into his briefcase. He paused at the door, turning back. "And one more thing, educate your team. A lesson on respect and equality can go further than firing someone." Greg straightened, his expression firm and unwavering. "Understood." Michael turned and walked toward the lobby. The atmosphere inside the bank had shifted. He could feel it. The air, once cool and ordinary, now hung heavy with the weight of what had just happened. Conversations had died down, and the customers who'd witnessed the confrontation were still watching him. Their expressions had changed, less curious now, more thoughtful. Maybe it was respect, maybe something deeper. He paused at the center of the lobby and glanced around. He wasn't the kind of man who gave speeches, but right then, silence felt wrong.